Spring trailer sales, saving the world one great deal at a time.
You've been a Stampede member of the Stampede board for
since 1947.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, but maybe we'll start at the beginning and where you're from.
Medicine Hat, born and raised here.
Yeah, and your parents, were they originally from
England?
England. And so what?
My brother played for Detroit Red Wings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
Red Fisher?
No, his name is Joe.
Joe Fisher.
Fred Fisher was a school teacher. He was a cousin.
And so what was it like in Medicine Hat when you were growing up?
About 6,000 people.
Yeah. Was it I take it there wasn't as much car traffic and.
Oh no. Very little traffic.
Yeah. Was it? Do you still see horses in town back then, or?
Well, we always had a horse.
Yeah.
My brother and I always had a saddle horse from the time I was 12 years old.
Yeah. And what part of the city did you grow up in?
On the hill. On 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
And Aberdeen Street. And at that time there was nothing out by Connaught School but prairie.
And what do you think of it now?
Well, it's getting big. I don't like the traffic.
Yeah.
Because the streets aren't built for it.
No.
That's the problem. They're not wide enough for all the traffic we got in most places in the city.
And where did you go to school?
Went to Earl Kitchener School, that's on 4th Street and 2nd Avenue. Went to grade 1, 2, and 3. And then Connaught School up to grade 6. And then where the junior high school is now, that was the high school.
Yeah.
I went to high school there.
And what was some of the memories you had growing up in Medicine Hat?
Well, I played hockey all my life.
Yeah.
And then in 1947, it was when they started the Stampede, and that's when we started the first junior hockey team here.
Yeah.
And I was referee and had an equipment manager, and I had no money, so I never got paid for refereeing.
Yeah.
But in that time, I refereed for the Western Memorial Cup 3 years in a row. In that time, there was no Memorial Cup final in Western Canada. It was always in Toronto.
Yeah.
And the first year that I refereed was in Regina. The second year was in Winnipeg, and the third time was in the head of the lakes at Fort William.
Yeah.
That I refereed the Western Canada Memorial Cup.
Fort William, Port Arthur, Fort William.
Fort William, yeah.
Thunder Bay, I guess now.
Yeah, Thunder Bay now.
Yeah.
Well, it's Port Arthur, Fort William then.
Yeah.
And the games were played in Fort William, but I stayed in Port Arthur because the teams stayed in Fort William. So.
And so, what was your first job in Medicine Hat?
My first job in Medicine Hat was filling shells for Safeway when I was 14.
Yeah.
And playing hockey.
Which Safeway? Which Safeway?
Safeway was down on 3rd Street.
Yeah.
Between 6th Avenue and South Railway Street. Let's see, what's there now? Across from Dominion Blank and down a couple of stairs. And then, then they moved up across from Safeways.
Yeah. And what do you think the biggest, what do you like the most about the changes that have happened over your time in Medicine Hat, and what's the thing you hate the most that's changed?
I don't know. I suppose it's like everything else. It's got to grow.
Yeah.
But I'd say the first, when I remember, was 6,000 people.
Yeah.
Then I went to 9,000 people. Then I went to 20,000 people. Now it's 60,000. So, it just grows. That's all. But it's a real nice city to live in. I wouldn't like to live anywhere else. Calgary to me or Vancouver is for the birds.
Yeah.
They're just too much.
Would you prefer to see Medicine Hat, or would you have liked to see Medicine Hat just stay at that 6,000?
Oh no, but I think that the streets here are too narrow for what we've got coming. This 13th Avenue here is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
With the traffic.
And sorry, I didn't. What's your wife's name?
Beatrice.
Beatrice. And
She was born here too.
and you both have now. I'm familiar with one of your sons, Judge Fisher.
And the other one is Bob Fisher.
Bob?
He has Dr. Bob, and he has or did have the clinic down on South Railway Street, but he sold it here a year ago last June.
And they both have were born and raised here.
Yeah.
And
they have two children, and one of like Bob or Ted's children. One of them's a chartered accountant, and the other one works out in the North Field here. He's what the hell is he? Can never remember. Anyway, I'll think of it.
Yeah.
And then Bob's son works in the oil patch, and the daughter lives here too. But she was fancied horses all the time, you know, and was in the Queen contest.
Yeah. And so, I mean, your family's quite established.
In medicine.
Yeah. Do you think that's going to go on for quite a while?
Oh, I think so. I don't think they're ever going to leave here.
Yeah.
Christ, I'm 91 years old now. I was 91 last July the 5th.
And now, what's your secret for such a long life?
Oh, I don't know. Living sober. Only I didn't live sober. I was a Shriner from 1949, and still a Shriner. And I still go, you know, still tied up at the shrine. And I was only the original, with the original Stampede here in 1947.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one left on that, on the original bunch that worked at the Stampede when we first started. And Dick Scholten, you wouldn't know him anyway, but he was a partner in the Ford garage here with Lauren Tansley, and he was the one that started the Stampede here in 1946. He started, and the first Stampede was in 1947,
yeah.
July of 47. And that time the arena went east and west, right beside the big building that's the only building left of the mid-prisoner war camp.
Yeah.
And then it stayed that way till, I forget when they built the new arena.
Yeah, downtown.
And Fred Wall built that first seating.
Yeah.
At the north end, and then in the south end we had bleachers. And then it was 3 or 4 years later than that we built the
new grass.
New grandstand.
Now, the Stampede, now that it was called the Stampede starting in 1947, but it did have a history, didn't it? Going back to the 1800s.
We had the cattle shows and sheep shows,
Yeah.
which we don't have now.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any money either. we didn't have any big grants like they get now.
And what is it that you remember the most from 1947, that first Stampede, that when you first joined?
Oh, how much work we had to do to get the thing going,
Yeah.
and we didn't have any money.
Yeah. Well, do you remember what your budget was back then?
Oh, Christ, I forget. Old Dick showed he'd have a big budget, but no money.
Yeah.
And I was president in 1975-76, and I was in charge of the reserve seats from 1947 to 1975 till I became president of the Stampede.
Yeah. And over that course of time from 1947 to now, I mean, what are some of the big changes that have happened?
Oh, well, the growth of the Stampede, the buildings like the Cypress Center and the big building at bottom end and the park and now they built that big building at the north end, that McHigdon building. They just opened the other day.